I have a situation where the landlord is not willing to work with the buyer and give him a lease. The buyer does not want to release the contract that was signed between the buyer and the seller. So we have a little contentious events taking place right now. So basically, we did everything we could to make the lease happen with the buyer, but the buyer came back and was very aggressive with some of the things that he wanted to change. And he added a whole bunch of things as amendments. And the landlord looked at it and said, you know what? Nope, I'm not gonna move forward with this lease and this tenant. So without a lease, obviously we do not have a way to go forward on the purchase side. So the buyer has got he's got it on his mind that he has a contract in place, and he's not going to sign a cancellation. We've already sent him the notice to perform, and our next step now is to proceed with the cancellation of contract form. So I'll give you more updates as to what unfolds, but that's what I'm working on.
Yeah, it's interesting because normally if a buyer can't get a lease and the landlord says no, or or the buyer wants a lease, wants lease terms that the landlord refuses, then the buyer just walks away. I mean, most of the time.
I wish he could do that.
Yeah, in this particular situation, the buyer is actually holding the business hostage by saying, hey, I have a contract. I'm not willing to cancel. I'm not willing to sign off on a lease contingency, which John alluded to sending him a notice to perform. That was to remove a lease contingency. But it's really a bizarre situation with this buyer, because the other complication is that the seller and the landlord are related parties.
Yes.
And so that gives if it was, arm's length, third party, no relationship, then it would be easy to say, landlord won't give you a lease, period. So we need to move on. But because the seller and the landlord are related, the buyer can always claim that the seller wanted to get out of the contract, and so he told or instructed his relative, the landlord, not to provide a lease. So that's not what happened.
Right.
But we all know that, the facts are irrelevant when you get into litigation. It's really which attorney can spin the best story and be the most persuasive. And so the facts really just don't matter.
We're hopeful that, this is going to move forward in a good way. And so I'm optimistic that hopefully it will.
Yeah, hopefully it will. I would say that is the contract that John used was a new contract put out by the California Association of Realtors, who have absolutely zero background in selling businesses. And so there is no provision in that contract for a seller to do any due diligence or to terminate. Once a seller accepts a contract, the seller has no rights other than to send a notice to perform, which the seller did. But it creates issues. I mean, the seller should have the right to terminate, and Carr just didn't give him that. Didn't put any seller contingencies in at all. So
use cab forms.
Yeah, if you're in California, use cab forms. I mean, the Association of Realtors, they do a fantastic job with real estate, with residential real estate. But other than that, go to the associations and use the forms that are put out by the associations that specialize in whatever you're selling, which for business, businesses, business brokerage, In California would be CAB forms, California Association of Business Brokers. So, and I'm not sure, Dick, you're up in Washington. I don't think, is there a Washington Association of Business Brokers that you're
No,
aware of, or any kind of regional, the Northwest Association? No,
nope, not that I'm
Yeah.
aware of.
not that you're aware of. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, you are with EXP, so EXP, the forms that they use have largely been taken from the California Association of Realtors, or I'm sorry, California Association of Business
Oh,
Brokers.
brokers, yeah.
So they will have the same types of seller contingencies and protections in them. But the car forms just don't, unfortunately. So yeah, John, keep me posted, and then hopefully the car attorneys will take care of revising that form to give the seller an out.
Yep,
And to give the broker an out when
Yep.
there's clearly no transaction going to take place between the seller and the buyer.
Yep.
Right? You need to be able to move on.
yep. Thank you, Tanya. I'll keep you updated.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's great.